Khatri.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sagar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Multiplier. We are a global employment platform that helps companies employ talent globally without having to set up their legal entity or worry about payroll, benefit, taxes, and so on and so forth. I'm here today from Singapore, very glad to be here. And today I'll be talking about how do we navigate from the great resignation to winning the talent crunch, right? So we at Multiplier, today we are roughly 300 people across 40 countries and 55 nationalities. We are a fully remote and distributed team, and hence retaining people, managing a right culture is at the heart of what we do. We firmly believe that at Multiplier, if you have the right culture, right people, you'll be able to grow faster. So we want to talk about how we believe that great resignation is nothing but manifestation of the new wage of work. Clearly, the old ways of working are not working. You need to find ways where you can now actually get good employees, retain them, and grow your business faster. So some of the changes that have happened in the last decade has really affected the way we work today. Employees have changed, right? Back in the day, we used to suit up, go to an office, be very formal, but that has changed, right? Now people show up in shorts, sneakers, and so on and so forth. Office spaces have changed as well. Back in the day, we used to have booths, telephone, on every booth, where we had partitions and so on and so forth. It was a very closed way of working. What has happened is now we have co-working spaces, more collaborative spaces, and so on and so forth. So employees have changed, office spaces have changed, and now their geographic proximity is changing, right? Back in the day, we used to have a concept of headquarters, where the large part of your employee base would be centered in one big building, could be US, UK, Singapore, and you will largely have satellite offices in other countries. But today, that has completely changed. Today, what happens is, just like Multiplier, you are global from day one. You have employee base in multiple countries. The talent crunch problem is very real, and hence, in order to grow fast, you need to have employees everywhere in the world, right? So employees have changed, office spaces have changed, now their geographic proximity is changing. I think one of the concepts that I would love to introduce today is asset utilization, right? If you see what Uber did back in the day, Uber said, hey, we have cars. How can we get more and more trips to the same driver and the same car so that the driver can make more money and the car is utilized to the fullest? Same with Netflix. We still watch Friends till date, and it was created long back in 90s and still making money, right? People are still watching Friends. The asset that was created is getting utilized. Same with Food Panda and Uber Eats and so on and so forth. We want to, at Multiplier, we want to apply the same concept for a human resource. If you think about the P&L format of a human resource or a talent, their revenue is the salary that they make, and obviously their costs are their rental costs, their children fees, and so on and so forth. So we imagine a world where you can be born anywhere and you can get access to a great opportunity anywhere in the world. You can be living in Lisbon and still be working for a company in San Francisco. So you would be making revenue, which is your salary, at San Francisco levels, but your cost would be at Lisbon levels. So eventually your utilization goes up as an asset. I was talking about the talent crunch problem. Take any country. I come from Singapore. It's a small country in Asia. We require 100,000 software developers every year, but it only produces 2,000. So the remaining gap needs to be fixed somewhere else. And it's not the story of only Singapore. You look at Japan, US, UK, France, Germany, every single developed market today is going through talent crunch. This is the report by Korn Ferry, which says that by 2030, there'll be a talent crunch of roughly 85 million skilled talent, which will lead to a revenue loss of $8.5 trillion. Now that's a massive number. It's more than the combined GDP of Germany and Japan. So how do we tackle that? An interesting data point is also 40% of employees globally are thinking about quitting their job. You know, with the Gen Z coming into workforce, work is not the same. It's not 9 to 5 anymore. Work life and their personal life are getting assimilated, and the definition of work itself is changing. So where do we go from here, right? How do we attract great talent and, more importantly, retain them? We are still a year and a half old company, so we're still trying and would love to share some of the things that have worked for us, and hopefully they'll work for you as well. There are 3 strategies that we use at Multiplier. One of them is meet your team where they are. Or as I always say, if you want to be an employer of choice, give your employees the choice of working from wherever they want to. So if you are a company based in Lisbon, you can access great marketing talent in Ukraine. You can access great development talent in India. You can access great sales talent in US, and so on and so forth. So hire people where they are, not where you are. Give them the choice and flexibility to be able to work from anywhere. The second is rewards and recognition. I think the most important point when you talk about rewards and recognition, it's not necessarily monetary. Right? We've all tried. As a CEO, anybody wants to quit, first thing that I want to try is, can I increase your salary and you would stay, right? That doesn't work these days. People have so many options. Markets are flooded with funding. There's always somebody else who will offer them more salary, and that just doesn't work, right? So when you talk about rewards and recognition, you need to talk about values. Like at Multiplier, we have what we call 3 T's as our values: trust, transparency, and thoroughness. It's important that you recognize people in the company that stand for these values, right? Let's say if you're doing onboarding, you're doing your town halls, how can you recognize people or employees who stood for these values in that particular month and recognize them publicly in front of your entire workforce? What we do is we always talk about, hey, this particular person showed true trust or true transparency or true thoroughness, and this is one example how that person showed that in that particular month, and we reward that, right? So reward and recognition is very important. We always say at Multiplier that churn is an acquisition problem. If you acquire, if the employee is leaving, it was the wrong employee to acquire in the beginning, right? So either you have a culture problem, or you are not acquiring people who see clear benefits in working from wherever they are. The third and most important part is rethinking HR policies. Let's spend a couple of minutes on this point, right? Gone are the days where HR policies mean you will have one HR handbook, and that would be one size fits all, and that would apply across all functions, all levels, and all designations, right? Today's way of working is very different, right? Every department is very different. If you talk about your engineering department, their needs are totally different. The equipment that they need, the incentives that they need, the employee benefits that they need are very different than the, let's say, marketing department. So what has happened is your policies have now need to be evolved as per the department that you're talking about, right? So for example, if you're talking about product department, there are very different things that excite them. And having a HR business partner who works very closely with the entire product team and come up with policies which are more friendly to them is very, very important. Similarly, when you talk about engineering team, they would need different laptops. They would need more flexibility of working from whenever as compared to, let's say, a sales team, right? So it's very important that you rethink the policies that have been at place since long. You create policies that are very specific to each department, and you create incentives that are very specific to those departments, right? Eventually, what we want to achieve is a world where no matter where you're based as an organization would not determine which talent you can have access to. Similarly, where you are based as a talent or where you are born as a talent would not determine which opportunity you can have access to. Thank you so much.